Hello everyone, welcome. Today I'm going to be talking to you about love and exercise. Not a love for exercise, a video about love and exercise, how they can coexist, a story about how they can intertwine and how they can enhance a relationship. Now at the epicenter of this particular story is my wife Holly, and we will get into how it all happened for us in the telling of this video. So I'm not going to blab on too long. I'm just going to rewind all the way back to 2011 and we'll pick it up from there. About 2011 time. I won't get too specific on the dates. I had not long come out of a long-term relationship and found myself living alone with a mortgage and all the bills to sort of support by myself. I'd also, about a month later, been made redundant from my job of 8 years, and I felt pretty down on my luck. It's about as close to depression and mental health problems as I'd ever found myself. I tried to keep a stiff upper lip and try and just get on with stuff. So I maintained stuff like my running and my exercise and my gym training. I also took a great deal of pride from taking photos for people. I had a little side hustle of a photography business, so I sort of threw myself into all these various pursuits during this time. So I thought to myself, with all this spare time since I wasn't working, I would try and bolster some of my portfolio work. So I put out a message on my social medias to ask for people to collaborate with. That would be people to take photos of, people like makeup artists and people who have dresses and models, all of that stuff. One reply that I got from that sort of casting call, if you will, was from a young lady called Holly. She was interested in sort of putting on a pretty dress and prancing around in front of a photographer, which was me. So we went ahead and did some of that. At this point in time, we were nothing but friends, and we just engaged in the photography, the gym, and the OCRs as and when they happened. And then part of that was to add each other on Facebook so we can communicate easier, at which point it opens up your lives to one another. You can see what each other are up to. A lot of what was going on with me at the time was OCR, the sort of the inaugural Wolf Run had just happened, so there was lots of videos and photos about that, but there's also lots of videos from my gym training, which I was always really, really proud of. So it got us talking about Wolf Run, and Holly was very interested in giving the very next one a go. So we said, yeah, come along. And so we signed us all up, and that was pending in the future at some point. But she felt that she needed to do some training to prepare herself for it. It was a 10K sort of assault course, rural assault course, set in April, so spring, quite cold. And so she joined the gym, and she joined and started to train alongside myself and my friends who had always trained together. And while some people might have been a little bit, why are you bringing a girl to the gym, Mark? We all just clicked and we all just got on with it. And it was great. We just helped each other out, we supported each other, and we just, week in, week out, 3 times a week, would go down to the gym and just get that work done. So Wolf Run came and we did it. It was the coldest I've ever felt at an OCR race. I'm surprised that she ever wanted to do anything like that ever again. It almost put me off as well. But she very much enjoyed it. There was lots of smiles, we took lots of pictures, it was great. So after Wolf Run, the training habits that we got into before continued, and we continued to train together. And I think this is where the chemistry between us began. It was great when we trained together because it was always sort of someone in the group was getting a personal best. There was lots of great vibes in the gym, and we were being inspired by the people that trained around us, mostly from the strongman contingent of the gym. There was lots of really big guys lifting insane weights, and they were using lots of the equipment that you would normally shy away from using if you didn't really know about it, and sort of the strongman equipment, the Atlas stones and the logs and the axle bars, but we dipped our toe in initially through deadlifts and squats, and we progressed it from there. Holly, considering she was that much younger than us, she picked it up really quickly, and before you know it, she was deadlifting enormous weights. She'd flew through the 2 times body weight ratio and carried on. I think she's maxed out somewhere around the sort of 155, which was about 2.5 times her body weight, which is insane. And she continued doing other things as well, like the 50 kilo log press. She was bossing that, Atlas stones, Conan's wheel, and she ended up smashing out 10 clean reps on the Volkswagen Polo deadlift. Yes, she deadlifted her car for 10 reps at 60 kilos body weight. Insane. So we ended up having a heart-to-heart conversation where I laid all my cards out on the table. I expressed that I was desperate to start a family before I got too old, and I was very conscious and paranoid that I would be interfering with her career aspirations if I was to sort of force a relationship on her. But she was very keen and very reassuring to tell me that she wanted the same big life stuff as I did. It might have been a little bit premature for her, but she very much wanted to see where it went. So we came up with the agreement that she would get a job, would give it a year, and then would see where we were at that point. So Holly went out and she got a great job. The problem was it was 5 hours away down south in Salisbury. So we had to sort of figure this out. She really wanted this experience. It was important to her, and it was important to me to support her. She would work down there 5 days a week, and she would make the 5 hour commute every Sunday evening and every Friday evening to and from Salisbury. So in 2014, Holly and I planned a trip of a lifetime to New Zealand. We had a week at the North Island and 2 weeks in the South Island. We just hired a van and we just bumbled around doing our own thing for that 3 weeks. And it was fantastic. Now, before I went to New Zealand, I had considered maybe, just maybe, I might propose while we're there. I'm not ever going to get a better chance than some of the beautiful, scenic locations that New Zealand has to offer. So I bought a couple of rings in different sizes, just cheap ones because I didn't want to lose them. And I squirreled them away somewhere secret in my luggage. And the idea was that I would wait until there was the best possible moment and then I would propose. The problem was I got so sort of excited with each place that we went. That it sort of, I kind of forgot a little bit or left the rings in the van or something got in the way. And I mean, I really missed a whole bunch of opportunities. I mean, we went to the Shire, so the Lord of the Rings set. We went over the Tongariro crossing, which is like a mountain, Mount Doom. We walked across deserted sandy beaches that would have been perfect. We went at the top of a waterfall. We got dropped at the very top of a mountain in a helicopter, as in we got out of the helicopter on top of the mountain. There was so many opportunities where I could have popped it out and gave her this ring, and it would have been fantastic. So I missed so many opportunities, and it got all the way to the last day, and there was one more opportunity to do it, and that was a dolphin boat trip swimming experience from Kaikoura, like legendary location for dolphin swimming, right? So we got up at 4 in the morning, we went to this place, we put on our dry suits, we went out to sea in this boat, we jumped in the sea, loads of dolphins, right? Amazing experience. They were all around us. You know, in the back of my mind the entire time I'm looking at these dolphins, I think, I'm going to propose in a minute, I'm going to propose in a minute. So we get out and we sit on the boat, and I'm thinking any minute now, and I look over at Holly and she's gone green. Like, what I didn't really know or appreciate about Holly at that point in time is that she gets terrible seasickness, and the colour had completely gone out of her. A combination of being on the boat, being in the sea, had just made her feel absolutely dreadful. And in that moment, I realised that there was absolutely no chance that this was salvageable. There was no way that she would want to be proposed to looking and feeling that way. So I had to abort. Now, with just one day before we had to fly back to the UK, on the way out of Kaikoura, I thought, I've got to force this. I've got to do it at some point. So I sort of suggested, should we pull over and just take a few photos and do a bit of videoing before we go home? And she, yeah. And I tried to suggest she might want to put on like a nice dress. And she was like, no, I don't need any of that. I was like, you should put on a nice dress, you know. No. She talked me out of it. I didn't have any choice at this point. I just had to proceed with the plan. And the idea is that I would walk her down a beach, I would stand her on a rock, and I would propose. The idea is that I would take my drone, bearing in mind this was 2014, no one had drones, and the drones that were out there were pretty crap. So I had this drone that didn't fly by itself, it wasn't very good, and I had it hovering above us on the beach. At the same time, I jammed a GoPro into the sand, and I jumped upon this rock and called her up. And I asked the question, what was the scariest thing you had done while in New Zealand? Because we'd done loads of scary stuff, right? And she said the boat ride. We went on a jet boat ride, went really close to stuff, really quite scary. Knowing full well that my answer would be, I'm scared of doing this. At which point I got down on one knee, said that line, and said, Holly, will you marry me? And she went, ah, boys, and we hugged, and it was lovely. And I've got now a great bit of video to show everyone how we, in fact, did the proposal. But it was close there for a while. I thought I might have to do it at the airport. So when we got back from New Zealand, it was full speed ahead on wedding planning. But that was still a couple of years away. We'd set a date in about 2017, so we knew we had loads of time. In the interim, Project Family had begun. We had agreed that we would try and squeeze a child out before the wedding, enough time for Holly to sort of slender back down into the wedding dress of her dreams. So that's what we did. And late in 2015, Holly got pregnant with Isabel. So with a teeny tiny Isabel slowly growing inside Mummy's tummy, we in fact took up part run. I was still carrying a lot of my strongman weight, and I was taking up a lot of running to try and drop it all. And part runs were a nice thing that we could do every Saturday, and something we could do together. We were still gym training as well. Holly remained sort of active throughout pretty much the entire pregnancy. And we'd go to these part runs, and every single week she would show up with a very slightly bigger bump. She got to about 32 weeks and decided that that would be the end of that, and I continued to run right up until the Saturday before Isabel was born. So Isabel's birth is a story all by itself, but I'm just going to give you the highlights. Holly wakes me up, tells me that she's in labour. I get up, I collapse on the floor. After I get off the floor, we both go downstairs. It was very clear that baby was coming in the course of minutes, not hours. We had no chance of getting to a hospital or nurse-led facility, so it was going to happen right here on the floor. We're trying to convince the midwives that they should come now, and not after a hot bath or not after a cup of tea or blah, blah, blah. I can see the baby's head, get a shift on type phone call. I get round the back. I happen to have put a GoPro down, recording the entire thing, and baby was born right into my hands, all by ourselves. It was an amazing, life-changing moment to be a part of. So one of those moments where everything changes. I had recorded the birth. A photographer recording him delivering his own baby apparently is quite media worthy, and a few people caught wind of this, and we had national press, TV, and even loose women banging on our doors to sort of tell the story, and we became famous just for a very small period of time. It was all right, but we were just trying to figure out how to be parents at that point. The two of us had just become a three of us, and all we wanted to do more than anything in the world is just bond with our baby. So while we were just coming to terms with being first-time parents, we had a whole bunch of other life stuff to deal with. Firstly, I moved out of my little bachelor pad with grand designs on somewhere much bigger, and we ended up moving into a temporary house. Again, that's a whole other story. I was still trying to maintain my fitness pursuits, but everything sort of boiled down that year while we sort of tried to figure out this stupid life stuff, being grown-ups and whatnot. So the wedding, that was the next thing on the horizon after that. So we planned this really nice wedding at this really nice place. It was a really nice day. The weather was great, the place was great, and we had all our family and friends, and we had a right good party there. It was fantastic. Isabel was flower girl. She was like 1 year old at that point, and she just sort of bumbled around all day. Yeah, it was an absolute lovely day, and we became like a proper family. So we are now married, we now have our forever home, and we have a child to look after. Suddenly fitness pursuits become a little bit more tricky when you always need someone to look after baby. So we had to start to figure out that we would organise various childcares, and when we couldn't do that, we would take it in turns. And then we started to think about baby number two. And so 4 years after Isabel was born, Charlie came into the world. And his story is also quite convoluted. So I'm going to just give you the sort of notes from the top of the page. He also came in the middle of the night. He also was delivered at home by me. However, this time round, there were complications and he was very poorly for quite a long time. So we had to pause all of our fitness stuff, all of it, so that we could concentrate on getting him well and getting him home. It was probably one of the hardest times in either of our lives. But what it did do is reinforce sort of our team mentality. You come together in those moments. Never are you more one when you have an objective that you need to achieve quite as serious as bringing a baby home from hospital. So now we were a family of four, and fitness and squeezing it in was harder than ever. But we made sure that one way or another that we would try and get this done. And sometimes that would mean compromising. We collected a bunch of fitness equipment like a treadmill, an exercise bike, a barbell, kettlebells, and all that stuff that we could have here, so whoever was left here with the children would still have something to do. We would take it in turns at the gym. We'd arrange childcare. We would do it early or late. We would just prioritize that like we would other things at the top of our priority list. As time knocked on, we picked up sort of the OCR stuff again, and we started to look further afield for other types of OCRs. We sort of got a little bit fed up of the repetition of, say, the wolf run. We'd done nearly 20 of those. So we looked what else was available in the UK. And the one that caught our eye was nuclear races at first. They do 3 events a year, and we did them 1 year and we thought they are amazing. So we've been back pretty much every year since because we just loved the event. Other ones I started to pick up were the Spartan races, the Spartan trifecta specifically, something that I took on. And then as a result of me doing that, I signed up to a season ticket, and part of that season ticket was a sneaky secret one for Holly to do. So I bought her this ticket to come along and join me on one of these events. I'm pretty sure she would have never done it by herself. But that experience was way better than I'd ever expected. We went and we did the 13 mile on the Saturday, the 10K on the Sunday, and the 5K in the afternoon. We did all of it. We came away from that buzzing and we were smiling. It's just one of those things, again, a little bit like when you've got a common objective, that it brings you close together, it forces you to work as a team, and that by extension is a great metaphor for what I consider a marriage to be. When things get difficult, you work together to overcome those problems, those obstacles in life. It was at this point that I started to look for other types of events. I was starting to take up longer running events like rat races and stuff like that. I was really into the OCR and that kind of event, but I wanted more. And the obvious gap in the calendar was the winter months. So I looked for something like High Rocks, which is sort of a hybrid fitness model exercise event. So I went along and I did one of those, 2 of those, and Holly was really supportive. She wasn't drawn to them like I was, but she was always there at the sideline, filming, videoing, just being my number one fan. It was ace. And that was until I started to figure out that if I wanted Holly to do these events with me, I'd have to buy her secret tickets. Last year, I decided that I would treat Holly to a surprise High Rocks ticket, High Rocks being one of these sort of multifunctional fitness events that I compete in. And I thought that instead of standing on the sidelines, that she would really appreciate coming and competing with me. Again, another example of working together to get an objective done. And this was great. I don't think it could have gone any better. It was we did a really good race, and as hard as it was for Holly, we were over the moon when we finished because we'd just done it so well. We'd executed the plan and we'd competed really well. And on that finish line, we gave each other a hug, which we don't do as much as we used to. But on that finish line, as sweaty and gross as we both were, we just sort of stood there for a second, hugging in front of all these people in all this noise, and it really was amazing. So we are now training 2 times a week, and we have a park-run family day out every single Saturday. These are compromises we've had to make. We do fit in training elsewhere as and when we can do it, but it's important to us that we keep that going. We train together as much as we can, and it's still really nice to train with a partner. We would, obviously, if we could, we would train with each other all the time. With regards to Holly and her fitness, she has always astounded me as to what she can achieve. In the early days, it was about strength. She picked up the strength work at an insane speed. She competed at strongman competitions and powerlifting. Yeah, fantastic. She's also tried the occasional sort of long running distance stuff as well. So she's done half marathons and 10Ks and blah, blah, blah. And she's continued to chip away at her 5K time. So Holly and I now are the parents of 2 beautiful children. The 4 of us live in this house, and we just sort of spin around each other like planets around the sun. It's super important that Holly and I maintain our fitness, not only for our own sanity, but we want to remain good role models for our children, who will obviously emulate their parents' behaviour at some point or another. They'll see it as something to value. So Holly has been at the forefront of this story. Sure, she's been backdropped a little bit by health and fitness, but it's all about her. From the time she got in contact with me, when she got strong, when she got a job, when she spat out one kid, when she got married, when she spat out another kid, it's all about her. Some of the fitness pursuits that I do, the training, the events that I enter, the ones that I do with her are the best. They are the ones that mean the most to me and carry the most valued memories. I want to be able to do these things for as long as possible with her because I love this person. She is the love of my life. She is the mother of my children, and I just want to sort of say that to the entire world. Okay, that's enough of the yucky stuff. I just wanted to make this video to tell Holly how much I appreciate her coming on this journey with me, not just in life, not just in fitness, everything, all of it. I very much appreciate the time we spend together. I value the time we spend together, and all you do for the family and the house, the home, everything. It's super important to show your appreciation to people that you love, and I don't love anyone more than I love you. So thank you everybody for watching this video. I know it was a bit of an uncharacteristically sloppy one. Apologies. Normal service will be resumed in my next video. Please give the channel a subscribe, and I will see you soon. Mart out.